When something goes wrong for this type of person, they do not panic. Something that would send most people straight to their phone, they process internally. Instead, their first move is to open a new browser tab to figure it out. They do not call anyone or text someone who has been through it before. They just quietly start figuring it out, and then they do. They always do. It looks like a superpower from the outside, until you spend enough time around them.
No.
You realize what it actually is. Most content frames it as a personality trait. What that framing misses is that this got built in response to something real. Usually early, that left a mark before the person had the language to describe it. John Bowlby, the psychologist who built the foundation of attachment theory, identified a response pattern. He called it compulsive self-reliance. It emerges when a person's early environment teaches them repeatedly. That reaching outward for support does not reliably produce it. Maybe the adults in their life were inconsistent, warm sometimes, emotionally unreachable other times. There was no discernible pattern to their actions. Perhaps need was met with frustration or silence. Or just an absence where something was supposed to be. The child's brain does what it has always done. It adapts. It stops routing the distress signal outward. It learns to process internally instead. And then it just keeps doing that for the next 30, 40, 50 years. What that actually looks like in real life, because abstract psychology does not hold much weight. Until you can see it. It is the person who spent an entire weekend teaching themselves to do something. A professional could have resolved in an afternoon, because picking up the phone felt harder than acquiring the skill. It is the person who processes a devastating breakup almost entirely alone. Shows up to brunch 2 weeks later, appearing genuinely okay, and kind of is okay. Which confuses everyone, including them. It is the person who typed the text that starts with, "Hey," and deleted it before sending, not once or twice, regularly and for years. These are not personality quirks. They're habits repeated so many times, they now run automatically. Below the level of conscious choice, below the level of anything they think to question. There is also something happening cognitively in these people that hardly gets discussed. And I think it accounts for more than most people realize. And I think it accounts for more than most people realize. They catch themselves mid-reaction and step outside of it to examine what is happening. The internal conversation is fast, layered, and often more detailed than anything they will ever say out loud. Which sounds useful. It is useful, but it creates a strange problem. By the time something has been processed enough to share, it has already been through so many internal revisions. That translating it into words for another person feels almost reductive. Like trying to describe a piece of music by reading out the sheet notes. Something essential does not survive the format change, so they do not try. Or they do and feel immediately like they have given someone a pale version of the real thing. Hi there. We're introducing a new feature where I can read this aloud in a natural, human-like voice. Or cold, or just very private, when what is actually happening is that the person is standing at a wide gap, with no obvious first step across it. Okay, where it gets rather dangerous. At some point, gradually, with no single moment you could point to, figuring things out alone stops being a behavior and starts being an identity. It stops being something they do and becomes something they fundamentally are. I handle my own stuff. I don't need much from people. And once those beliefs calcify, accepting help stops feeling optional and starts feeling like a contradiction of the self, like agreeing to something that clashes with how they have learned to see themselves. The person who would never ask for directions, and the person who cannot ask for what they need emotionally. Same room, same locked door, same key they are not sure they still have. What this produces in relationships is a gap that is painful to live inside on both sides. These people care deeply, often far more than the people around them comprehend. But the move from caring to actually letting someone in is a step that does not come naturally anymore. It has to be made deliberately against the current of everything their nervous system has spent years automating. And the people who love them often feel this without being able to name it. There is real warmth there, but also this persistent sense that the last 10% is always just slightly out of reach. That they are being offered closeness up to a certain point, and then something invisible closes. And what makes that especially complicated, the person on the inside feels that gap too. They are not unaware of it. They can see it as clearly as anyone. I want to be careful not to frame all of this as damage that needs immediate fixing, because that misses something very true. The person who learned to figure things out alone built something valuable. They have a tolerance for difficulty that most people genuinely never develop.